11 years on the night shift, and you think you have seen everything that comes through a toll booth window. You have not. But you come close. My name is Renata, 53 years old, divorced, mother of two. Marcus, 28, works in Columbus. Deja, 25, in her second year of nursing school in Cleveland. Graveyard shift toll collector on I-77 south of Akron for 11 years. I took the night shift originally because it paid 15% more than days. And my kids were small and I needed the daylight hours free for school pickups and dentist appointments, and the general management of two children with no second adult in the house. My kids are not small anymore. I kept the shift because by year 3 I had become a person who belonged to it. Not in any poetic sense, practically. My body had learned the rhythm, my mind had learned the quiet. 3 in the morning on a Wednesday has a specific quality, a stillness with a specific kind of urgency running underneath it. That 3 in the afternoon does not. Nobody is on a highway at 3 in the morning by accident. They are in transit. They are going somewhere they need to be, or leaving somewhere they needed to leave. They are tired or frightened or urgent or empty or some combination of all of those, and at some point on whatever road they are on, they come to a toll plaza, and they pull up to my window, and for the 12 seconds it takes to hand me cash or tap a card, I am the only other human being in their immediate world. 12 seconds. 11 years of 12 seconds. 11 years of reading what comes through a window at 3 in the morning. You get good at it. You get very good at it. She pulled up at 3:17. I know the exact time because every transaction is logged. The booth does it automatically, timestamps everything, and I checked it later when I gave my statement. 3:17:43, specifically, which is the kind of detail that a statement requires and that I would not otherwise have known. Because at the moment her car appeared in my lane, I was not thinking about the time. I was thinking about the car. Dark green Subaru, maybe 2014, Ohio plates with the standard state design. Highway film on the windshield. That particular grime film that accumulates on a windshield after a few hours on the interstate. The combination of road spray and exhaust and the dried residue of other cars' tire wake. She had been driving for a while. 2, 3 hours minimum, maybe more. I could tell that from the windshield and from the posture of the driver behind it. Not collapsed, not obviously exhausted, but carrying the specific tightness of someone who has been holding themselves together for a long time. I read cars the way some people read faces. 11 years teaches you what a car that belongs here looks like, and what a car that doesn't look like. And hers was in a category I did not have a clean name for yet. Something about it. What I could not see yet was the trunk. Subscribe here. Stay for what comes out of that trunk. Subscribe and do not go anywhere. She did not pull up to the window the normal way. Most drivers who arrive at a toll plaza late at night pull up with the window already down, card or cash in hand before the car fully stops. It is such an automatic gesture that they often do not register doing it. The window comes down a quarter-mile back, the card comes out at the sign, the hand is ready at the stop line. 11 years and I have watched thousands of drivers do this in their sleep. She pulled into the lane and stopped and sat. Just a moment. 3 seconds, maybe 4, before the window came down. 3 or 4 seconds is nothing in most contexts. At a toll booth at 3 in the morning, it is the difference between a driver and something else. Something deliberate. Something that is managing itself. I was already watching more carefully when the window came down. When the window came down, she was crying. Not the soft crying of someone who has had an emotional drive, the kind I see fairly regularly. People coming back from hospitals, from hard conversations, from the end of things. This was different. This was the crying of someone who has been holding something together for a long time and is very close to the end of their ability to hold it. Her hands were gripping the wheel. She was looking at me with the specific intensity of a person communicating something with their eyes that they cannot say with their mouth. She said, "Please call 911. Don't ask questions." I have had people ask me to call 911 before. Drunk drivers flagging me down. People who had witnessed accidents behind them on the highway. Medical situations. In 11 years, you get all of these. What I had not had before was someone looking at me like that while they said it. "Don't ask questions," she said again, quieter and more urgent, like she needed me to understand that the not asking was as important as the calling. I said, I'm calling right now. I already had my hand on my radio. Not my personal phone, the booth radio that patches directly to highway dispatch and has about half a second of delay compared to a cell call. Stay right there. Don't move the car. She nodded. She was still gripping the wheel. And then, while I was giving the address to dispatch, while I was saying dark green Subaru Ohio plates 317 toll lane, her trunk popped open. Not all the way. Ajar. Like it had been bumped from the inside. I have thought about what I saw in the next 3 seconds many times since that Wednesday, and I want to be accurate about it. What I saw was movement in the gap, a shape, something that was not cargo shifting in a moving vehicle, something that moved with intention, with the specific deliberateness of something alive that was testing an opening. A hand, briefly, in the gap, then gone. I looked at the driver. She was looking at the trunk in the rearview mirror. She was not surprised. She knew the hand was there. She had been expecting it, or something like it. Her grip on the wheel tightened, and she closed her eyes for exactly 1 second, and then opened them again. I said, into the radio, I have a vehicle at my location with what appears to be a person in the trunk. I need highway patrol immediately. Code 3. Code 3. That means lights and sirens and right now. The dispatcher confirmed receipt and said units were 6 minutes out. I looked at the driver. 6 minutes was 6 minutes and she was still in the lane and I needed her to stay there, which meant I needed her to stay with me. I said, "What's happening? Talk to me." She said, "I can't tell you everything." Her voice was controlled the way a voice is controlled when every available resource is being used to keep it that way, which is a specific quality I have learned to recognize in 11 years of hearing voices through a window. There is someone in there. She is alive. She needs help. She stopped. I said, "Keep going." "He doesn't know I stopped," she said. "He thinks I'm still driving. He cannot know I stopped." He, someone who did not know she had pulled into a toll lane at 3:17 in the morning. Someone who was operating on the assumption that this car was still moving south on I-77 at highway speed. Someone who was wrong. "Who is he?" I said. "Her ex," she said. "He was at the rest stop. I don't know how long." She stopped. She was not looking at me anymore. She was looking ahead, through the windshield, at the road beyond the toll plaza. Empty road at 3 in the morning, a Wednesday, I-77. She was looking at it the way you look at something you have been looking at for a very long time and need to keep looking at. She didn't know he was there. I didn't know until there was a sound. A sound in the trunk. Her best friend. I found out the full situation in pieces, some at the window and some from the statement afterward, and some from the officer who debriefed me. They had been college roommates. She had driven from Pittsburgh to help with a move, Columbus to Cincinnati, a 4-hour trip in good conditions. Her friend had been moving away from a bad situation, which the driver had known in general terms without knowing all the specifics. Her ex had been the situation. He had become, in the months since the relationship ended, a more defined kind of problem than bad situation captured. They had loaded the car at the Columbus apartment. Boxes and bags and the particular organized chaos of someone packing their life into a vehicle. Her friend had gotten into the back seat with a pillow and said she needed to close her eyes for the first part of the drive. She had pulled out of the parking lot and gotten on the highway and driven. Stopped once. Rest area south of Columbus, one of the big ones with a fuel station and fast food and bright lights, and the specific manufactured cheerfulness of highway service plazas. Her friend had gone in, come back. They had driven. 40 minutes later, a sound. Not loud. A shifting, she said. Like something repositioning, she thought. Boxes sliding. She did not think about it again. 8 minutes after that, she said something to her friend. Something ordinary, conversational, the kind of thing you say on a long drive. Nothing from the back seat. She called her friend's name. Nothing. She looked in the rear view. Back seat empty, the pillow still there, the shape of a person's head still pressed into it from earlier. She pulled over. 45 seconds on the shoulder with her hazards on, processing what she was understanding, which was that her friend was not in the back seat, and the only other place she could be was the trunk, and someone else was in there too, because the sound she had heard was not the right kind of sound for a person alone. She could not call 911. She had known for months, in the way that people who have been told things they only partly understood at the time know things, that his access to her friend's phone was not a metaphor. She did not know what it meant technically. She knew she could not risk a call that he might be able to hear. She had driven 14 miles until she found a toll booth with a light on and a person in it. She had found me. "She's alive," I said, not a question. "She was making sounds," the driver said. "In the trunk. Earlier, I knocked on the back seat. The seat folds, and she knocked back. Her voice caught, just once, and she smoothed it back out. 10 minutes ago. She was knocking back 10 minutes ago." I looked at the trunk, still ajar. It had not appeared again. I did not know if that was because she had pulled it back, or because something had changed in the last 10 minutes. "What is your name?" I said. She told me. I am not going to use it here, because she has asked that her name not be in anything public, which I understand and respect. "My name is Renata," I said. "I have been on this highway for 11 years, and highway patrol is 4 minutes away, and you did exactly the right thing by stopping here. Do you understand me?" She looked at me. She was still gripping the wheel. Something in her face shifted. Not relief, not yet, but something adjacent to it. Something adjacent to it. What happens when a person who has been alone with something for too long finally has company in it? 4 minutes, she said. 4 minutes, I said. Stay in the car. Don't get out. Don't open the trunk. She did not get out. She did not open the trunk. She stayed in the car, with her hands on the wheel, and she looked at the road ahead, and she breathed. I watched her breathe. I kept my hand on the radio and I watched her breathe, and I talked to dispatch, and I did what a person does when the thing they can do is stay present and keep someone company in 4 minutes that are very long. Those 3 minutes and 40 seconds were the longest I have spent in a toll booth in 11 years. I talked to her. Not about the situation, not the codes, the ETA, none of it. I talked to her the way you talk to someone you need to keep in the present. Questions with short answers. Her name, where she had started from, what she had last eaten. Small, ordinary things. She answered. Her voice got steadier, not calm. Steadier. Difference between a person who can function for 3 more minutes and one who cannot. Once she asked, "Is she going to be okay?" I said, "That is what we are going to find out. Right now your job is to stay in this lane and stay with me." She stayed, held the wheel, breathed, did not open the trunk. Patrol arrived in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I have never been so glad to be wrong about a time estimate. 2 cruisers from the south, lights and sirens you can see coming a mile away on a flat, empty highway. 1 officer to the driver's window, 1 to the trunk. I watched the trunk. She was alive. Her name I will not use, because she has asked, and because it is hers. Alive and conscious and cold, wrapped in a blanket from the trunk emergency kit she had found in the dark. She had been in there the better part of an hour. She was alive. He was in the trunk too. He had been there since the rest stop, which meant he had been there for the full drive south. He was arrested. I will not tell you more than that because I don't know more than that. The investigation was not mine to follow, and the officers gave me only what I needed to give my statement, which was what I had seen at the window and what the driver had told me. Rest belongs to the case, and to the courts, and to the people it happened to. Here is what I know is true. At 4:10 that morning, cruisers still in the lot, the ambulance gone, statements taken, the machinery of the situation moving through its stages, the driver came back to my booth. She did not have to. An officer had offered her a ride up to a motel. She had been walking toward the cruiser. She turned around and walked back to the toll lane, to my window, and stood outside the car, this time on the driver's side. She looked at me through the glass. She said, "Thank you for not asking questions." I said, "I asked plenty of questions." She said, "You asked the right ones." I have been thinking about that for 6 months. What makes a question the right one at 3 in the morning, when someone is trying to tell you something in the fragments that are safe to tell? I don't think it was a decision I made. I think it was 11 years of watching what comes through a window at night and understanding, slowly, without being taught, that what people need at the window is not interrogation and not procedure. Those come later. Those belong to other people. What they need at the window is someone who will stay. Someone who will say, I have you, I am here, tell me the next thing. We will get to the one after that. The right questions are the ones that give someone the next thing they need, not the full picture. What is your name? Tell me what you can tell me. How much time do we have? Small, forward-moving, present. Not questions that reach for the whole story. Questions that say, I am here with you in this moment. In 11 years, I have gotten better at those questions than I am at most other things in my life. Not from training. From watching what comes through a window at 3 in the morning and learning, over time, what people need when they stop. They need to know there is a person on the other side. That is almost always the whole thing. Radio calls, dispatch, procedural machinery of the situation. Those matter. Those are what the situation requires technically. But what held her together for 3 minutes and 40 seconds while the cruisers came was what holds most people together in the worst moments. Knowing that someone is there and paying attention and is not going to look away. I was there. It was my shift. It was what I could do from a toll booth at 3:17 in the morning on I-77. Night shift workers see what nobody else sees. Not because we are special or trained for it. Because we are there. Hospital admittance clerk at 2 in the morning. Gas station attendant on the county road. The 24-hour pharmacy tech. A toll booth collector on a stretch of interstate where for 14 miles at 3 in the morning, I am the only lit window available. We are the fixed human presence on the dark roads, and sometimes, not often, but sometimes, in the particular configuration of a night and a situation and a person who has driven until they found a light on, that is exactly what someone needs. Not a hero, not specialized training. A person in a window who is awake and has a radio and will stay. 6 months later, I am still on the night shift. Marcus tells me I should think about days. Deja says the same thing, which tells me they talk about it, which I find slightly funny. I am not going to days. Stillness of 3 in the morning and the knowledge of what passes through it have become mine in a way that is not transferable to afternoons. There are bad nights. There are long nights where nothing happens, and the coffee is stale, and the radio is playing something I don't like, and the hours move the way hours move when you are watching them. There are nights that are just nights. And then there are nights when a green Subaru pulls into lane 3, and a woman who has been driving for an hour not knowing what to do, pulls up to my window, and 11 years of watching and learning and staying at the window add up to the thing the situation needs. I was the fixed human presence at 3:17 on a Wednesday on I-77. That was all. That was enough. Subscribe if this one stayed with you. And tell me in the comments about a time someone was simply present. Not heroic, not specially trained, just there, in a position to help, paying attention, and that was the whole thing that made the difference. Night shift workers and desk clerks and counter workers and gas station attendants, people who are there when everyone else is asleep. They see what nobody else sees. They are the fixed human presence on the dark roads. Thank them. Subscribe if this one stayed with you. Tell me in the comments about a time someone was simply present, awake, in position, paying attention, and that was the whole thing. My daughter Deja is finishing nursing school. She works overnight shifts now, learning the rhythm of a building at 3 in the morning. She calls me when she gets off. We compare notes on what the night brought through our respective windows. She is going to be very good at this. Some people are built for what happens at 3 in the morning. I do not know if it is a gift or a particular arrangement of temperament. For 11 years it has been mine, and I am not done with it. Stay in your lane. Help is available. Someone, somewhere, is awake at a window. Pull up. 6 months later, both women are doing well. This is not something I know officially. One of the officers debriefed me the week after and mentioned it, as much as he was allowed to mention, and I have to trust that. I am not part of the ongoing case. I was a toll booth at 3:17. My part was the window and the radio and the 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And then it was done and it moved into the hands of people better equipped for the next parts. My part was the window. 11 years taught me to do my part well. I'll be back in the booth at midnight tonight. I'll count the hours the way I count all hours on a long, quiet night, and I'll drink the coffee and listen to the radio and watch the headlights come from the south and slow at the gate. Most of them will be transactions. One set of cards, one receipt, One, have a good night. And maybe one of them won't be. Stay in your lane. Someone is awake at the window. One last thing I want to say, and then I am done. She said, please call 911. Don't ask questions. What she was really saying was, I have done everything I can do alone, and I need someone else now, and you are the someone that is available. That is true of most people who come to a window in crisis. They have done what they could do alone. They have driven until they found a light. They have pulled up to whatever window was available, and what they need from the person on the other side is not expertise or heroism or special training. They need someone who will pick up the radio and say, I am calling right now, and mean it. 11 years. I have meant it every time. Subscribe if this one reached you, and if you work a night shift, at a window, at a desk, on a floor, on a road, thank you. You are the fixed human presence on the dark roads. That matters more than you know, on more nights than you will ever find out about. Most nights are transactions. Some nights are not. Be ready. Be present. Pick up the radio. I have been at this window for 11 years. I plan to be here for several more. Not every night is that Wednesday. Most nights are the coffee and the radio and the headlights in sequence and the hours moving toward dawn in their usual way. But some nights are that Wednesday. And now I know what to do when they come. Pull up to the window. Someone is always there. 11 years at this window. 11 years. That Wednesday is part of it now. That is the whole thing. Stay in your lane. Help is awake at the window. Always. 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Stay present. That is the whole job.